why does this company at the interview keep asking me, how do you handle a difficult boss?
Or
how do you handle a product that keeps failing?
Or how do you handle difficult customers?
Yeah. Okay, and if the whole conversation circles around how do you handle problematic boss or whatever it is, okay, then you're just, oh shucks, that's a red flag.
It's a red
So
flag.
you need to go and find out why, what. Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to Career Success with Adrian and Yen. Welcome to another show on Friday morning. My name is Adrian and I'm the CEO and founder of Career Agility International. And as always, with me is Yen.
Hi everyone. Today we have an interesting topic that we'd like to discuss. We've been covering a lot about job search and interviewing and pivoting and career acceleration. But this has come up recently.
Yes, and it happened so that just yesterday, in fact, one of our clients went for the biggest interview of her life, and that's what she said. And she was waiting for years to interview with this company.
No way.
Really. And she finally got down, she sat down with the whole process, and she came out feeling a bit unsettled. And she was a bit uncomfortable, and she said, what do I do next? So today we're going to talk a bit about what do you do after the interview?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about how to answer maybe difficult interview questions, and we've talked about how to prepare yourself for interview. Today, we want to talk about what happens post-interview. So
Hang on.
after?
Yeah. How post is post? Immediately after?
Immediately after, or a day later?
Or a week later when they don't respond to you, do you send an angry email? How can you ghost me?
Or maybe you decide to ghost them instead. So there are many things that can happen. So what happens immediately after an interview?
Very good. Let's find out.
What happens immediately after an interview?
Very good. Let's find out.
No, but really, what happens immediately? So, what happens immediately after the interview when you have stepped away? What happens with you? Have you ever been in that situation?
Sometimes it can be a whole myriad of emotions.
Yes.
Because sometimes you're happy, you're unhappy, you're excited, maybe it was a letdown, you don't know. So it's a whole host of emotions you'll feel.
Most of the time, I would play back the interview in my mind.
You're one of those.
As I'm commuting home.
You're one of those post-processors.
I would debrief in my brain, and I would go, damn, I should have answered it like this. Oh, I forgot to say that. Holy cow, I don't think they like this answer. And then I'd start beating myself up.
Okay. Yes, that's kind of tough. It's quite stressful to be doing that all the time, isn't it?
I think with every major meeting and with every major conversation, you do the same. You'd want to kind of go through again. Were there any other, insights? Did they mean A or B?
Okay.
Maybe you're thinking, gosh, when he said that, I wonder what they meant.
Okay.
If there was any feedback, am I reading the conversation correctly? But that's usually what I do post-interview.
Okay, I normally just sleep it off. What happens, happens.
But hang on, very importantly, to all the listeners out there, if at the end of every interview, please send a thank you note, regardless of how emotional you feel.
Happy or otherwise.
Send a thank you note. A thank you note is short. It's probably got less than 3 sentences. And it just says, thank you very much for your time.
Don't call me, I'll call you.
Something positive about the conversation, and then I look forward to hearing from you. Or I look forward to next steps. Okay, keep it short.
Keep it short.
Not one of those, by the way, there's this other thing I wanted to highlight, and this other thing.
Yeah. No, I actually had clients before who followed up an interview with a 3-page email. This is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
So it's like buyer's remorse, a lot of cognitive dissonance.
Yes.
It's like, by the way, don't do that. Okay, don't do that.
So send a thank you note.
So today we're going to talk about, besides thank you notes, we're going to talk about what are the 5 things that you need to ask yourself after the interview, and this will determine whether or not you want to proceed or whether you want to decline. I know many of us out there are thinking, what you mean we can decline? Yeah, there are situations.
You can stop the process. You can stop the process at any point. Yeah. So if you had a positive interaction and you'd like it to progress further, you'd send a thank you note and say something nice, and then show some indication that you'd like to proceed. But if it's a conversation that didn't go so well and you wish to stop the process, you can also connect with the talent acquisition or the HR or your recruiter and just say, thank you so much for everything. I would like to not progress this opportunity because whatever.
In other words, talk to the hand.
No. Okay. Don't.
Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about today, after you've met with your interviewers,
Yes.
is do I like the people I've met?
Yes, because when you meet the people, and again, it's not just the one singular interview, it is multiple interviews. So throughout the many interactions that you have, you can almost sense how they work with one another. You can hear what they are saying or what they're not saying. So the
saying as
hiring
well.
manager, another manager, a peer, the GM, the head of operations, or all the various stakeholders that you're going to be meeting who are possibly going to be working with you if you take this job. You can hear, you can almost sense the dynamics among themselves within the hiring committee.
And also, you can have a feel of it. So I had this client once. She went for the interview at the office, and the moment she stepped in, she found that the receptionist was very cold towards her,
No.
a bit rude.
Why?
Okay, and she walked
Bad
in.
day.
I don't know. A lot of people in the office look very depressed and very sullen. And at the discussion itself, it went okay. And she was coming out. She felt a lot of people there were just lacking in energy.
It could just be a bad day. Maybe they had some bad news. I think we need to then confirm and validate whether
Or maybe
or
there's
not.
something in the air there that's making everyone.
Maybe the water is
the
bad.
water is bad.
Right.
But it was a very negative feeling, and she said, "I was not comfortable in that environment."
And did she go back for a second round to confirm that this is the case?
She did.
Yes.
Okay, and yes, it was the case. The culture there was very quiet, very sullen, very somber. She said it felt like a library that's situated next to a mortuary
Funeral parlor.
or a funeral parlor. It's like that was the feel she got, and she didn't like it, so she declined it. So she didn't like the feel, the culture of the people there, just through the interviews, and they liked her, but she decided I was not going to do it.
Yeah. And when you read the environment, and we say read, we're not asking you to open your third eye or anything or look for like the senses. But remember, we had that client who went for an interview on a Sunday afternoon, and the place was buzzing.
Well, that's the flip side of it.
Everyone was working. That it was full on busy on a Sunday afternoon. Something's wrong, the kind of environment as well.
Yeah. Unless you're a workaholic, then something's right.
So it's a good thing if you are interviewing to walk into the place of work to get a sense of the environment, and also to interact with as many people as possible. So if anyone says, gosh, there's so many rounds, you have to attend like 5 rounds of interviewing, it's a good thing because you get a chance to meet more people and you get to read the environment a lot better.
What happens if you meet the boss and you don't like him?
In those situations, it again could be just a bad day. I think I would do a reverse reference check on the boss.
Explain.
So I'd call up other people who have had interactions with said individual and ask them, like, how was your interaction with this person? What's it like to work with him or her? Just ask anyone if they've ever interacted with such a person.
Story time, huh?
Story time.
So I've actually had once in my career, early part of my career, I was the boss from another department wanted to interview me, and I went for that interview. I stepped in. Immediately he was. To be fair, I was a young, fresh guy, third year into work. Fresh. Okay, and he interviewed. He said, "Oh, okay. Hang on, I got something to do." He turned his back to me. I was in his room. He just continued his email for 17 minutes.
Ooh.
And I just continued his email. And I was sitting there, I was thinking like, is this a test? Is this a test? Okay.
Probably is.
I'm going to pretend it's a test and I'm just going to see how long it's going to take. I timed it was 17 minutes.
That's
and
very
then
long.
He turned to me and he said, no apologies. He said, okay, tell me about yourself.
Wow.
Later I found out that it was not a test. It's just like that. He just does not respect your time.
Right.
And it's all about him. And he feels he's doing you a favor. So
By gifting his time to you.
Yeah. And I felt it was very uncomfortable.
Very
disrespectful. And I actually declined that role, even though it was a bigger portfolio. And I declined because I didn't like the idea of working for someone who was...
Is this person directly your direct
No, my direct boss, the new direct boss to be.
Right,
so I was not comfortable.
It was something that you're going to have to someone that you have to interact with every day.
Yes, as a new boss. So I was very uncomfortable that you sit down there for 17 minutes, back turned to you, typing, and and
I think this is not just an interview thing. I think all meetings should respect everyone's time.
I agree.
I remember having a meeting with someone who as he thought and tried to put his mind and bring his thoughts together. He had his eyes closed. So for half the meeting, his eyes were shut.
He was sleeping.
No, he was talking. He was talking, and I just sat there and I stared at him.
It just could be a
like
tick.
this. Again,
I don't know.
it's strange.
Okay, if you're not comfortable, yeah.
So I guess what we're trying to say is at the end of every interview, you'd want to think about whether or not you liked the boss, the team, the culture. If you do get a chance for an interview, you have to take it, especially if it's at the office premises. And if you get an offer for a role without ever having been to the place of work, then you have to make a decision with very little information.
Or if you're made an offer without having met the boss because he hasn't come in yet, that's another
That
thing
has happened as well.
That's happened too. So you got to be careful about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's not necessarily a red flag if, say, the entire team is remote. So there is no office. Then it's a different decision. But if you know that they have a place of work, and this happened to a client, and they've interviewed you twice, but always offsite at some coffee shop or some cafe twice, and then there was an offer without ever inviting you to their place of work, I'd be...
So what was the outcome for that one? Was it okay, or was like the office haunted, or?
No, he didn't accept the offer in the end because when the offer came, it wasn't what was promised.
Okay, so what if it was what was promised, but they haven't seen it?
I advised
maybe
my client,
the coffee, you have to try the office coffee. If the office coffee is not up to your standard,
some offices don't have coffee.
then that's not the place to work. So you got to
Either
reject.
way, I advise my client before signing on the offer to at least visit the office.
I think so.
You know, you walk in and you can tell, is it busy? Are people happy? Do they look, is there energy?
Are there cobwebs?
Are there phones ringing? Because those are always good signs that business is humming along, you know?
Yeah, I know.
You know, I join a place that
I know.
feels
I once
like a
stepped to an
cemetery.
office that was 3/4 empty, and I got very worried. So
Maybe it was a team bonding session.
no, it's empty. It's totally vacant.
Okay.
So they were
sounds-
the aftermath of a retrenchment exercise. So
Or possibly it's just a frontage.
money
something
laundering
else
fraud. I
that's
have no
happening.
idea. So after the meeting, that's one of the first things you do. Just treat it as a dipstick reading, whether or not there's a place you want to be. Now,
I think you want to check in with other people as well, just to confirm your impressions.
true.
The best people to give you information are people who used to work there. So find someone who left a year ago, 2 years ago. Just get some insight.
The second thing we want to talk about when you leave the interview or after the interview, does this job make sense for me?
Yeah. But at the same time, the role that you interview for is not necessarily the role that you will end up doing most of the time. Because by the time you join, there will be slight changes to your job scope. But either way, what you said is true. What Adrian was talking about in terms of the job scope. Does it make sense for your career? So you want to analyze the job, the task, the scope, and its possibilities against your own vision of your own strategy and your own career. Where is that going to go?
Especially if the role is something not something you're very used to.
Yeah.
If it's a pivot, does it make sense? So one of our clients just last week, he was being offered a role in KL. And it's away from home and everything, but it's a bigger portfolio. So it makes sense, but they were going to pay him in local currency. So the question was, is it a worthwhile move? So he went there, he got all the information, and he found out that, skills-wise, capabilities-wise, it's going to grow me, but it's going to impoverish me because I got to pay the local taxes there and everything, and not even in Sing dollars, by the way.
Yeah.
So ultimately, what we advised him was, what's your priority right now? And his priority there was not so much the career piece, but the cash flow and the money piece.
So based on this individual specific story, the big items such as, okay, this role is based out of KL, and the other big item was the compensation would be in local currency on local terms, i.e. tax and all that, and then maybe there's some relocation and etc. So the idea is that what we were saying is you attend the interview to then speak to the hiring manager or the decision makers as to what are the other possibilities for growth that would compensate for him to want to relocate, because these are things that probably all or are already in the job description. So in the job description, it should be stated that it's going to be located in KL and all that, the big items. But the idea is that during the interview, he can ask questions. So you ask more questions around, yes, it's in KL, but what happens after that? Or is there room for I don't know, growth elsewhere, you know, after I finish my stint in KL, am I going to be relocated maybe somewhere else?
True.
And that's the purpose of the interview. So leverage the interview to ask as many questions as possible. So you don't just wait until after the interview to start measuring and thinking. No, you think about it and then use the interview to ask the questions.
Yes.
And then at the end of that, ask yourself again, is it going to improve your career? Does it make sense? Is it aligned to your long-term career strategy?
And if it doesn't, you know, then you either got to find out a bit more about the role, how to make it work, or you can decline and walk away. So for this individual, basically, he decided not to do it. And the main reason was because politically incorrect time. He said, look at the rate the Malaysian ringgit's going. So he says, if I'm going to pay in local currency, I'd rather be paying US dollars.
So
and interestingly, just a side story as well. There was one time in my career I was being paid in US dollars.
Yes.
And the US currency just kept going up
dropping.
and up and up. No, it was really in
Nice.
my favor.
Good for you.
And it was fun because, it's just like getting a raise every month. It was funny, but I can imagine if it's on the other side of the equation.
Okay,
So
let
ouch.
that not be the purpose of the decision criteria ever. Again, currency stability is a thing. So yeah,
It is a thing, and cost and everything. So once again, you have to figure out whether or not it makes sense, whether or not the whole situation is going to be in your favor or otherwise.
Yeah, and I think with a lot of clients, we also advise them to prioritize your family. So if you can move but your family can't for whatever reason, your kids have school and you know your spouse has a role, has a job, is stable, and if you have to take this other job that's taking you away from your family, so it's something to consider as well. So make it make sense. But at the same time, if the role is very compelling, and this is the only showstopper, for example, the relocation, there are other ways you can navigate that. So again, if you have any questions about that, come talk to us. Because if it's a job you really want with a company and a brand that you know is going to be aligned to your career, and you have an issue with the currency that you're going to be compensated in, plan for it, you know, and then come and have a chat with us, info@careeragility.org, and have a chat, and we'll see if we can help you navigate that speed
we can
bump.
walk you through
Because
it.
I mean, if it's a role you really want, don't just walk away.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's paying
not,
you in a different currency.
Yeah. One of the things that I always say to our clients is watch out for red flags at the interview.
Yes. The red flags, you have to look for them sometimes, because if the red flag comes and it passes by you and you miss it.
If you don't notice it,
Yeah, it's sad.
But sometimes you can be a bit sensitive over flags which may not be red.
Oversensitive about
Oversensitive, yeah. Okay, so this scenario, okay. What happens if, even before the interview, HR rescheduled your meeting 4 times? What do you think that could mean? And last minute telling you, oh, sorry, this afternoon is cancelled. We're going to come in tomorrow. And then
4 times is a bit much. So if it's last minute every single time, it's an indication that you're a low priority. And it's an indication, it's a data point, guys. It's a data point, and it's part of your decision criteria as well. And if you have another opportunity with an organization that seems to get it, can understand, and it's organized, because I was going to use a bad word. So if another organization has got it all together, go with the other organization. But this organization seems to be very in crisis mode all the time. And so as a data point, you know that if you do accept an offer, assuming there is an offer, that you will be joining an organization that's constantly bailing water out of a sinking kayak. And that may not be an organization you want to join.
what other red flags do you think
Oh, there's so many red flags.
What's the funniest?
There are so many. I have a story about a client who went to an interview and was asked to come early for administrative purposes.
Okay.
Said, come early, please come early. And so he went early, about half an hour or so, and the HR said, okay, I'm so happy you're early. Here. And then he was given an assignment. He was shown to a workstation and asked to write an essay about something. It was a test. It was not an assessment per se, but he was asked to write his thought about something.
Okay.
And at the end of it, he felt ambushed. So again, as a data point, an organization that does this to their candidates, you wonder, why do you play these games?
No, was it part of the interview process though?
Well, he wasn't informed. If it is part of the interview process, then I should be informed that, okay, this is the process, and be all transparent. The fact that they were not transparent about the process is an indication that this organization likes games and subterfuge, which isn't exactly the kind of organization you want to join. So that's a red flag, for example. There are many others.
I've also seen cases where the interviewers were openly hostile. Okay,
For fun?
I don't know whether it was for fun or not, but it was basically, why do you want to work for us? Or your career doesn't look very stellar to me. It's very openly hostile. And luckily, our client has heard a lot of our podcasts, and he got up and he left. There's one thing also, if there are too many red flags and if there are too many issues, my suggestion is still very much, get up and walk off, because you're not obliged to sit there and take abuse.
Yeah, I mean, if you need the words to figure out how to decline the opportunity nicely while in mid-interview, something along the lines of, thank you so much for your time. I feel like this opportunity doesn't quite fit my career strategy. I appreciate everything you've done. Thank you. I will be in touch.
That's so nice. I was thinking of something along the lines of, I forgot to turn off my tab at home.
Or the middle finger type situation.
It's like, oh no. Oh, I just remembered my oven's still running on. My turkey is... So.
I think it's okay to say, I can see that this role is quite a bit of a mismatch. So I don't want to waste any more of your time. Thank you. And then say goodbye.
Actually, you know already this, but I actually did that once. Anyway, long story. But it was empowering.
I mean, you don't need to sit there and suffer.
Don't take the abuse. Just walk off. Yeah, just walk off. Okay. Resist the temptation to slam the table or anything. You'll always be professional about it.
And again, the person could be just a genuine person, and maybe the role is a mismatch, and you've decided that this isn't the role for you. You don't have to be hostile, because you never know. You could turn this individual into a network contact. At the end of every interview, connect on LinkedIn anyway. Maybe you can offer other helpless candidates.
Someone you don't like.
Something along the lines of, look,
your least favorite colleague.
Something along the lines of, this role doesn't quite fit. It's a mismatch to my career strategy, but I know a lot of other people.
I know a guy.
Would you be open to me recommending people to you? And that's okay too.
Okay.
It doesn't hurt to be nice. If you can't be nice, be diplomatic.
The other thing that we need to talk about as well when you're leaving the interview or after the interview is, what are some of the key questions I need to find out either about the role or about the organization? And this follows up from our red flag discussion. If there are any red flags, you want to go and find out more about it. Why does this company at the interview keep asking me, how do you handle a difficult boss? Or how do you handle a product that keeps failing?
Or how do you handle difficult customers?
Yeah. Okay. And if the whole conversation circles around how do you handle problematic boss or whatever it is, okay, then you're just, oh shucks, that's a red flag.
It's a red flag.
So you need to go and find out why, what. Okay.
A long time ago, I attended an interview where everyone from hiring manager, team leader, general manager, they all kept saying, we don't believe in politics, over and over and over again. It was almost like a chant. And I heard it like 3 times from the same person, and I heard it another 2 times from another person. And I joined the company, very silly. And it turned out to be quite toxic. So it's interesting. So again, it's a chance for you to, you have to debrief, no choice. At the end of every interview, you kind of play it through in your mind and look for, what were they saying, what were they not saying, and who else can I ask to find out more information about what they are not saying.
And that's true. So one thing about our clients, because they've engaged us, they are able to sit down with us after the interview and debrief and clear off anything that might have been of interest or red flag to them. And they're going to figure out, why did he say this? Adrian, why do you think they brought this up 3 times again?
Yeah.
So we are able to provide that kind of insight to them if they are keen to find out more.
So it's again, of course, you have pre-prepared. Like you prepare questions to ask during the interview, and based on their answers, sometimes we're not ready to process. So at the end of the interview, when you're done with it, you're kind of processing again. Okay, so these were the issues that they brought up, and we had a very in-depth, pointed discussion about, say, opening up some market somewhere. And at the end of it, you go, okay, I'd like to find out more. So then maybe you can request a second meeting, and that's perfectly fine. Don't just wait for them to initiate. You could potentially initiate like a second conversation with the same line manager and ask, I'd like to meet with you again if I may, because I want to clarify some doubts, I want to clarify a few things, and discuss some business plans, which, by the way, is a really good sign. One, because you get to answer your doubts and questions. 2, you get to demonstrate interest. By asking for another meeting, you are showing a lot of interest, a lot of love. So the company might feel like, hey, you're a better candidate because you showed some initiative.
I still remember there was this client of ours who went for an interview, and it was a 45-minute grilling of tell me your sales numbers, tell me your sales figures, who are your key customers.
For each and every role, right? Across the entire resume.
And exactly your most current one. And because he was joining a competitor. And it was just a fishing exercise, just to get information out of it. And so once again, she came out, she said, I felt defiled. I felt defiled. It's like, I've just been held against my will, and it's almost like a KGB interrogation. So once again, and you're going to find out if that's a culture in an organization. So once again, this rolls back to the red flag thing. If no one can be that desperate for a job to put up with such kind of abuse, or
unless you are.
In
which case, if you do take that kind of job, come talk to us anyway, because we'll help you to build boundaries and fences and a healthy disrespect for the authority, so that you can be healthy yourself. Look, no environment is perfect, and you're not going to be happy every day. So if you know that those are going to be the challenges, you take the job because you need a job. Come talk to us anyway, and we'll help you to navigate the minefield.
That's true. And finally, the last point that you should think about when you leave the interview is, am I going to feel the same way a week from today as I feel now? So
why a week?
Because sometimes you're elated. After interview, everyone tells you, you're the best. You're so great. Wow, you're the one. You're the chosen one that's been promised to this company in the great prophecies. So suddenly, you're like, I'm the great one. I'm Neo in Matrix, or
Okay.
And then you feel good about it.
Yes.
And then you feel high, but then again, in a week's time, are you still going to feel that high? Because so. Sometimes, so there was this case where one of my clients, he was offered a role almost immediately
on the spot
after the interview.
Right.
Yeah, and it was feeling high and everything, and he signed on, and then he realized why they were so eager to get him on board, because 3 other people walked out on the job barely a few months away.
It's one of those revolving doors.
Yeah. So you might be feeling high, but will you be feeling the same high a week from now? And if it's just a bit of a reality check.
So the it's not about the week or the day, or it's about making sure you're rational rather than emotional.
True.
So decisions about your career should never be taken when you're emotional. It's always wise to, I don't know, the word is mercenary. I'd like for you to list down all of the elements that are in the job scope. Figure out whether or not those elements make sense, those elements are aligned, and if all the signs point to the good, there's a meter. If it's neutral positive, so try not to let your emotions get in the way, because sometimes a lot of these offers is just an ego boost.
Yes, correct.
And you accept it because the title is fancy, and the people are throwing a lot of benefits at
A lot
you.
of love.
But you know, a lot of organizations throw money at candidates because those jobs are really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also
Be careful what you wish for.
be careful what you wish for. That's what I was thinking as well. So you're right. Don't base your emotions. Don't let your emotions run wild, and you make a decision based on it. Because I've seen cases where it's basically a bad decision, and not only do you get love or flattery from the HR manager or whoever it is, be extra careful of what the headhunter is telling you. Because headhunter's idea, the headhunter is not your friend, by the way. Okay?
And they never tell you the whole truth. Okay, that's not fair. I mean, it's not necessarily in their interest to tell you the whole unvarnished truth.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they will tell you things that make you feel happy and feel appreciated so that you would sign on the offer, because at the end of the day, they only get paid, not only, but they do get paid when you sign up.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got to be mindful whether or not they're telling you everything is they're just whispering sweet nothings in your ear so that you sign, they can collect the money.
And so, I mean, you would make a career decision or a decision to accept or decline a job offer based on circumstances as well. I mean, if you are currently unemployed and looking for work, sometimes you take the job because you have to.
Yeah.
If you're gainfully employed and you're very happy where you are, then of course the decision to join another organization has to be taken at with more thought, because the risk is also greater.
Absolutely.
So if you need someone to objectively bounce off some ideas to discuss and talk it through, reach out to us, info@careeragility.org.
Yes. So in conclusion, as we're talking about today, the interview process can be quite stressful. It can be quite exhilarating. It can also be long. It could be a whole myriad of emotions you can have. You might be extremely tired after the interview, and you might not be feeling so great about it. Don't make decisions based on that emotion alone. Go out, find more data, find more information. Who can you find information from?
The recruiters are great. Ex-employees of the organization you have been interviewing with, your own network and your mentors. Of course, if you don't know anyone, reach out to us.
Yeah, reach out to us. You'll be surprised because being in the industry for so long, we actually hear stories about different organizations, different roles. We might have some backstory or origin story of the role, so you might be surprised how well informed we are. So just reach out to us. We can provide you some background for some of the
Adrian
roles.
is very optimistic. I mean, he does know a lot of people who know a lot of things. And we've been doing this for a while. So, but I don't want to overpromise. I don't want to overpromise. But again, you never know. So reach out to us. We have we can help.
And we will help. So once again, info@careeragility.org. And as we come to the end of the session, once again, it's going to be a fantastic weekend, and I hope that you guys will be able to enjoy your time with your family. And if you're in the middle of the interview process, bear with it. It can be very long. It can be very painful. It's a grind, but just look at the bright side of things. At least you're in the interview process. Yeah,
achieving an interview is an achievement because you've converted your initial conversation into something serious, and that's good. But interviewing is no fun. It's like a beauty parade, and you feel like you feel very vulnerable because they kind of peel all the layers away and asking you all sorts of intrusive questions. I think you should just have fun with it.
Just have fun with it. What's the worst could happen? You get a job. So
that's the worst.
Anyway, have a great weekend ahead, and stay in touch. Bye.